Hi, everyone. Welcome to Andrea Pearson Show. For this episode, it's actually going to be a live session I did on how to stay out of subscribers' spam and spam and spam folders, filters. And I did it I'm a Ramsey preferred coach, and I did it for a bunch of other Ramsey preferred coaches. And there was a Q&A at the end, which I did not end up recording. Anyway, so go ahead and watch. Let me know if you have any questions, or listen if you're on a podcast, and let me know if you have any questions about newsletters and all that stuff. And thank you. Hey. All right, so this is all about how to stay out of the spam filter, and I've already done my intro for my podcast and YouTube channel, and so those of you guys who are watching that way, you already know what we're doing here. But we're going to go ahead and get started. The Q&A will be at the end, and it will not be recorded. It's going to be private, just so that those who are in attendance can not have to have all of that. What's the word? Have all of their questions be made public. And share. Okay, can you guys see it? Okay, good. All right. So, so we're going to be talking about avoiding the spam filter, basically how to stay out of the spam filter and get your emails delivered. Very important stuff, especially if you are a, whatchamacallit, if you're planning on building up your newsletter list and having a big newsletter eventually, or even just a small one, because smaller ones tend to be affected by this, sometimes more, depending on how you get your subscribers. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. I've already said this, but the presentation will be public and the Q&A will be private. But here's my about. We did a bunch of I had everybody tell me about themselves before we started recording. But for me, I'm a USA Today bestselling author of over 85 titles. I'm a business publishing marketing consultant. I've been doing that for about 10 years, though actually 2011 is about when I started that. So more than 10 years. Yeah, 10 plus. There we go. I focus mainly on authors, but I do other types of businesses. I've got a few clients now, and one of which is pretty much employing me full time, which is a really weird turn of events. My husband quit his job to stay home with the kids, and this client of mine, it's like 10 hours a day some days, and sometimes 6 days a week. He keeps me very, very busy. But I'm also host of the Andrea Pearson Show, and I do marketing and business stuff, finances, go-gettedness, because I'm a very much a go-getter. I like to get things done. I'm an artist and a musician, and I'm married to an artist and musician, and we homeschool our 3 kids, which is the hardest thing, the hardest change on the face of the planet. My husband homeschools our 3 kids while I sit in this little office all day long. And that was a very, very weird transition for me, from being the person who was always on her feet, always with the kids, the temper tantrums, the fights, all of that homeschooling. And now I ignore all of that. My husband takes care of it, and I sit in here. And it's been a really weird adjustment for me. Okay, so I like to start anything that has to do with newsletters with the studies, because I still get a little bit of what's the word? Um, Not corrosion or adhesion. A little bit of a fight. That's not quite the word, but not everybody wants to have a newsletter, but it is still one of the most powerful things in your arsenal to help you build your business. So from the Radicati Email Statistics Report, email remains the most pervasive form of communication, and Marketing Sherpa said 91% of people polled want to get promotional emails from companies they buy from. And Quick Sprout says 66% of online consumers made a purchase as a result of email marketing. And for those of you who are here live, a purchase for you would be they sign with you as a coach, right? And then 91% of consumers check their email daily. Over 70% of mobile purchasing decisions are influenced by promotional emails. And Mashable says the average recipient deletes 48% of emails received. And that's our goal, is to avoid that from happening, because a lot of it is due to spam. So the top reasons consumers report spam from the Litmus study: the brand sent irrelevant or too many emails. So that means if you're emailing every single day, every week, or multiple times a week, even if people feel like you're just doing it just to do it, they're going to mark you as spam. If there's not really a purpose behind that, if there's not some theme or something that you're working on, they're going to be like, okay, this is spam. The subscriber is no longer interested. They're like, spam, which is like the rudest thing ever, but not everybody even knows that you can unsubscribe. They'll just hit spam and they know it unsubscribes them automatically. This one's big. This one's actually against the law. Recipients can't remember subscribing. You have to show in your emails at the bottom in the footer how they subscribe to your list, because that is the current law. It's part of the Canned Spam Act, which canned spam, it stands for stuff. It's not, you can spam people. No, it tells you what you can't do because it makes you come across as spam. Subscriber couldn't easily unsubscribe. That's also a law. You have to have an unsubscribe button at the bottom of your email. Every newsletter provider is going to provide that for you in the footer, unless it's like a really archaic system. And I like to personally make it really big, and I'll talk about this a little bit later. But okay, so the subscriber had a bad experience, which it could be on you and it could also be on them. That there's a lot of variables that might go into that. The next one's pretty big. Brands emails didn't work well on a smartphone, so 43% mark as spam for that reason. So one thing that's important to notice is that if you're using a modern system like MailChimp or MailJet, ConvertKit, these systems automatically convert your emails to be friendly on mobile. But not every system out there will do that. So you're going to need to test on mobile, and you'll need to test on desktop just to see, not on mobile. So like inside of the actual app, it usually will show you how to preview on a mobile phone. So like, how does this look on a mobile phone? And then it'll show you a preview for somebody who's looking at it on their desktop. And pay attention to that, because that's going to be a big deal, especially if it doesn't work on a mobile phone. Mobile phone. Okay, what turns off subscribers and makes them mark email as spam? If you treat them like children. So patronizing tones, insulting their intelligence, asking like they're there to learn from you, even if they are there to learn from you. If you treat them like too much like a child, if you talk down to them, if you don't act like they're your equal, which they are, if they're an adult, they're going to be better at something than you are in some way. And so treating them in a patronizing or talking down to them tone is really bad. Any form of manipulation, that kind of should go without saying, but I have been on newsletter lists where they try to manipulate their subscribers, and that's really off-putting. Being passive aggressive, using wording that shows your displeasure at someone unsubscribing, or even if somebody doesn't sign up with you or doesn't buy your book, for those of you who are authors who are watching this, just using wording that shows that you're disappointed by that. It's unprofessional, but it also makes people want to mark you as spam. And the reason I'm talking about this is the more people who mark you as spam, the more likely you are to end up in spam folders for other subscribers. So you want to be squeaky clean so that there's no reason why your emails should end up in somebody's spam folder. Okay, so being a passive aggressive also applies to your sign up page if you decide to have one. So I did see something that said, want to get over 1,000 leads? And so they had two buttons below that. Yes, send me my free PDF. And then the other one said, no, I don't want better results. And I'm like, that is the most passive aggressive, immature thing on the face of the planet. Like, of course I want better results, but that doesn't mean I'm going to get them through you and your company. I wanted to slap the person. Okay. And then if it turns people off, it's like this passive aggressiveness. So if they do sign up, they have a higher potential of marking you as spam if they feel like you're already leading that way. Okay, using a name other than your own. So don't use your business name. A lot of coaches have a specific business name, and a lot of business owners obviously have a specific business name. If you have a business that you want to brand over your name, then use it and go ahead and use that and make that be your branding. But if you are, as a coach, as an author, or as somebody else who works in a specific field that is going to benefit from using your name, then use your name. And then otherwise use a business name if you want to be doing that. If you want people to know you as like Target doesn't want us to contact their specific emailer. They want to be known as Target. So, and the reason if you use a different name other than your own is people won't recognize where the email's coming from. And without even opening it up, they will mark it as spam. And again, if you get marked as spam too much, your emails end up in the spam folder. Okay, using subject lines that are overly vague, misleading, or that aren't delivered upon. And by delivered upon, I mean like clickbait email newsletters, or sorry, subject lines. So it breaks subscribers' trust when the subject line only has one purpose: to get people to open. It needs to be related to the content. And don't put something in the subject line that won't be addressed in the email. So you can use clickbaity stuff in the subject line as long as it is fully addressed in the email and not in a Like, oh, I'm trying to think of something. I can't come up with any examples right now, but everybody's seen a headline where it's like everybody's impacted by all of these horrible things, and you open it up and it's like one person, you know. So don't put something in the subject line that's not going to be addressed in the email. The number one cause of unsubscribes is irrelevant messages, and they frequently do mark the company or the person as spam on their way out. Okay, making it hard to unsubscribe. Again, the law is you need to make an unsubscribe link not very visible, but it has to be in there. That is the law. If they can't find the unsubscribe button, they'll report the email as spam, and rightfully so, because it's in the Can Spam Act. You have to be allowing a way for people to unsubscribe. So you technically are spamming them if you do not allow them to do so. It also hurts your deliverability, which makes sense, right? So 50% of people say they've marked a brand as spam if they had a hard time unsubscribing. Or also, so the link is there, but you guys have all seen those situations where they click on the link to unsubscribe, and then it's like, why are you unsubscribing? And it requires you fill in information before you can unsubscribe. People like that's just spammy. A lot of systems do it automatically where after the person is unsubscribed, they ask why they unsubscribed. That's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about where they can't unsubscribe until they put a reason for their unsubscription in there. And I have seen that happen before. Okay, so if you've put a lot of work into your newsletter and you're still not seeing results, it might be your process or practices, or the subscribers might think you're sending email spam. Okay, so don't email too often, like I said, several times a week or a day, and you're going to want to justify sending multiple emails a week. Like if you're launching a new product or a new service that you're offering or a new promotional thing that you're doing, like if you're, especially for those of you who are here live, if you are going to do something where everybody who signs up during that, that week, they get it for $100. You can send multiple emails for these reasons in a week, but I don't generally recommend you email a whole lot. Okay, and then don't use your website host to send emails, so like GoDaddy, Bluehost, etc., because spammers use them. Because they make it all easy. They buy a website, and then the website allows them to have email through it. The host. Sorry, you buy a host from a domain from GoDaddy, and they allow you to have your email hosted through them, and then they also allow you to have your newsletter list hosted through them. And so spammers like to use them because it's all in one spot. And spammers tend to be lazy by nature because, I mean, if they're trying to make money off of people who are innocent, they're going to do everything they can to cut corners anyway. And so the deliverability for anyone who uses them honestly has dropped. So those who are honest about how they use their newsletter list, they're being affected by spammers. And so I don't recommend using your website host, to send emails. You can use it for hosting your email but that's a different thing than using it to host your newsletter list, because it's a domain that you own, and therefore it's your credibility and your brand, not the website host. Okay, so we've already talked about misleading or clickbait subject lines and previews, and so just to avoid looking like spam. I know I have a little bit more to do about that in a little bit, but okay, again, making unsubscribe easy. Make unsubscribing easy, 1 or 2 steps, preferably 1, and then make it obvious. I said I was going to mention this a little bit later. So I've got my emails, this whole big chunk. I have below it this button that I make very noticeable. It's like either a bright red button or it's a white button with red letters, and the bright red button will either have black or white, whatever's the most attention getting for that specific newsletter list. And I do it at right below my main email, like right below it. And then also far down, if I have any end content, anything like that. And I will frequently put stuff down there like pictures or whatever. And I make it really bold. I put it in 2 places. So, and the reason I do it in the 2 different places is because people are now used to scrolling all the way down to the bottom to find the unsubscribe. And if you make it really big and noticeable down there, then they'll unsubscribe there. But if you also do it at the end of the email, those who are like, this is a waste of my time, I don't want to be here anymore, they unsubscribe there. And a lot of people are like, but if I put an unsubscribe link that big, that easy, then people will unsubscribe. And yes, that's the point. You want people who don't want to be there to unsubscribe, because it's just basically dead weight. If they know they're never going to work with you, then you want them gone. Okay. You want people on your list who actually want to be there. And don't send files in your newsletter emails. A lot of Sendy-based apps let you do this. And for those who don't know what Sendy is, it is a newsletter provider software that you can install on your web host through the cPanel. Yeah, cPanel. And it's a little bit technical. I was able to set it up on my own, but I have a tech background. I did work in a data network operation center. Anyway, so don't do this, even if your system lets you do it. It's not advisable. Auto send to spam folders. Okay, don't use Gmail as your sending email address. And this is one that gets a lot of people caught up because, you know, it's free. They've got Gmail, they've got Yahoo. Do people still have AOL? I don't know. Hotmail, all of that. It's not um it's an easy step to just use your personal Gmail account. But the problem is your deliverability goes way down, and some newsletter providers won't even allow you to email until you have attached a professional domain, like an actual domain you own, and you can verify that you own it. And the reason for this is, again, spammers use Gmail all the time. Spammers use, you know, all these different hosts. And your goal is to avoid looking like spam on the front end for anybody front facing, forward facing customers, all of that, but also on the back end where the technical things happen that we don't see, the algorithms, all of that, you will be automatically sent to a spam box unless you already have a relationship with the persons you are emailing. And by that, I mean, you've already emailed them from that email address back and forth several times. But the problem with that is you can't guarantee that everybody who is on your list has been emailed already from your Gmail account and responded, and that there's a relationship there. And so just don't use that. Use your own domain, and setting up your own domain is really, really easy. I think I need to set up a custom domain. It's super easy to set up. Like if you go through GoDaddy, I've mentioned Zoho before in one of my previous things. It's super easy. It's very inexpensive. And yeah, there's a lot of tutorials about how to do it. Okay, the law requires you to use a legitimate physical address. Don't try to get around it. There's a lot of options out there for people who don't want to use their address. I think I think it used to be called like VML or something like that. So there are companies that buy like 10,000 or 10 acres of property, and they just build massive warehouses on it. And then they go into that warehouse and they section it off into these little tiny boxes. And every single box gets its own street address. And so you would set up an account with them and you would pay for them. The one that I looked into several years ago was like $3 a month, really, really inexpensive. And what it was is it allowed you to have a physical address in your email list that was not attached to your house. I personally use a PO box from a couple cities over. I used the small little warehouse option in the beginning until a spot opened up in the PO box. The reason I didn't use one in my city is because my city is very expensive, and the city, couple cities over, is like, it has like 3,000 people living there, and it was just super cheap to go that route. Anyway, so yeah, the reason you don't want to try to get around this is because if you delete your email address, they will automatically reinsert it right as your email is getting sent. And you have to provide your actual address to those to the providers. And you don't want them reinserting that one if you have a PO box that should be there anyway instead. Okay, so bad subject lines, exclamation points with question marks, they get flagged as spam. So these are my examples here. Don't love your hair? Buy our product today. You love reading romance? Check out my book now. So if you have an exclamation point paired with a question mark in a format like that, that is a very spam approach. Like people who scam and do spamming, that's an approach that they would take. And so they are more likely to end up in a spam folder. If you use spammy subject lines, you'll lose respect, and you might get good open rates now, but you'll get bad ones later. And they are more likely to mark you as spam on the way out, and it will damage your long-term relationship with subscribers who stick around. And so I already talked about the clickbait, but this is just a little bit more about it here. I see a lot of people using clickbait innocently, not realizing that's what they're doing, or doing it hoping for better results, and it ends up damaging them more in the long run. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and I'm going to stop recording here in just a minute. But Those of you guys who are watching this version on YouTube, go ahead and comment below and let me know what future topics you would like us to delve into. So we can go over subject lines, automation sequences, evergreen topics, selling techniques, Facebook ads, giveaways, etc. There's a whole ton of stuff. Anything that falls under publishing, I'm welcome or interested in talking about. Available, whatever the word is. And anything about marketing, anything about running a newsletter, anything about reaching and networking with subscribers and potential clients, getting them to becoming fans, things like that. Anyway, so I am going to go ahead and end this. Let's see if I can. It should stop recording. There we go. Okay, so thank you so much for watching that, and recording this after everything. Anyway, I'm trying to record everything out of order. Anyway, so hit the like and the subscribe button and the bell icon to be alerted to future videos and to be alerted to future podcast episodes. And thank you so much. I will talk to you all later. Bye.